If you like orcs and elves when they kiss each other, I think you'll like this series in this author's back catalog. Greetings, royalty. My name is Olivia, and welcome back to my realm. I really wanted to do a time-honored tradition on BookTube, and my first time doing it, which is the classic 10 before the... Now, I'm sorry if you hear any background noise because I have my tree open, my tree bag, and all my Christmas goods, and my cats are going through it, including my very large and growing Nutcracker family, because look, your girl loved the Nutcracker when she was little, when her mom enrolled her to be a ballerina, and I've loved it ever since. So I've been collecting Nutcrackers ever since as well. So with all that said, let's get into the 10 books I'm reading, or hopefully reading, before the end of 2025. Now, it feels only right to start with my e-reads for the rest of the year because I got my emotional support Kobo in actually very late 2024. I'm talking like December 2024, right? So it's been about a year with this baby and I cannot be happier with it. I love my Kobo and it's my first e-reader, and because I'm a huge comics fanatic, I just adore the color. For example, just showing off The Hollowed Knight, which is a comic I got off of Kickstarter. I just got it loaded up here, and just look at that. Look at it. Love it. The only downside is you do have to read in light mode unless you convert it into an EPUB, and that can be difficult depending on the comic, but I'm talking about side loading comics, obviously, not the Kobo native comics. They read like a charm. But all that said, let's stop talking about stuff that is not 10 before the end, before this video becomes too long. So starting out, I am going to talk about the various arcs that I'm reading for the end of the year, and they all came out late November / are coming out in December. So that's why I want to get to them as my priority TBR. The first book up is The Hollowed by Amilea Perez, which has the awesome tagline, "Hope is Treason." And this is the standard cover. There's an illustrated cover that is super, super gorgeous as well, but that's not the one I have. I really adore this series so far because, spoiler alert, it is going to have extra books in the series. She does this really cool thing with the 3 books she's released so far, where there are 2 couples inside the same book or series, right? So it's really awesome in that way too. But this book is about a zombie-esque apocalypse that happened in a near future dystopian America. It has a lot of grit. It's very fast-paced. It kind of reads almost like a movie, to be honest. And I'm loving it so far. Thinking that this is going to be at least a 4-star, maybe even a 5-star read. And I can't wait to finish this in December. Next up, we have a book that doesn't have the cover inside of the book, which I absolutely hate, but that's just a pet peeve of mine. So I'm going to throw it up on the screen. And that is The Probability of Us by debut author, from what I can pick up from Bookstagram, where I found the author, Elizabeth-Jade Taylor. Now, this one is a really interesting read as well. It is a contemporary romance set between 2 STEM majors, if I'm remembering correctly. The main girl is broken up with very early in the book, so I don't feel like that's a spoiler because it's literally the first page. And from there, she gets into this relationship with another guy at her university. It's feeling very contemporary right now, feeling like an easy palate cleanser compared to the heavy dystopian sci-fi that I'm reading with The Hollowed. So I'm excited about that one. The other author is a Hispanic author, and I really love how she infuses her culture into that. And this one is an interracial romance, so that's excited as well because I always love to read Black female protagonists, especially in romance. Moving right along for the third book on my end of the year TBR is a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous special edition Foxes and Poisons by Adina Childs, which I have also as an ebook, so that's why it's on this part of the 10 before the end. I almost said series. No, 10 before the end video that I'm recording. But this special edition, I cannot wait to show you all the unboxing. It is so pretty. And Actually, let me just spoil something right now because I want you all to go support this author. She is also not a debut author. She has a co-written collection, but this is just like a really stunning sophomore, I believe, book by an author, and really just so high quality. Just to give you a taste of how gorgeous it is, look at this. And if you can't tell by the cover, this is a Afrocentric high fantasy, I will say, romance. I say Afrocentric because even though the majority of the characters are written as Black, they are meant to be read as Black. This is a secondary fantasy world, not set on Earth, and so they're not technically Black or of African descent, but you get what I mean. So that's why I say Afrocentric fantasy. This one is just really sweeping. Also, something that's really cool, I originally read this for Hercat, the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do, but unfortunately this was the only secret prompt, like special prompts we get every month for the year-long challenge that I didn't finish in time. And that prompt was reading a book with a craft on the cover or an audiobook while doing a craft. And the main character, Arya, in this book is a seamstress and she sews as a hobby, and you can see the needle and thread on the cover, which I thought was a really cool touch. But all that said, this is a really, really fun duology. I've seen the cover of the second book because I'm on the ARC team / this author's street team. And I'm trying to get all my tidbits together because I'm posting my long form review very soon. I don't do a ton of long form reviews, but I'm going to do a YouTube video for this. I'm planning to do like a cosplay of the character. So I'm going all out. And I don't feel too bad about being a little late with my review because it did come out in late November. And also the fact that I did pay for the special edition. So hopefully my dollars and my cents helped out the author, because I think this is a beautiful sweeping fantasy that has like this kind of spy intrigue. It has two characters really going on their own journeys before they meet each other, which I think is missing from romantasy these days. So much right straight into the heat and the action. A lot of times you don't get to see the characters, as people, before they get into relationships. So I really enjoy that as well. And yeah, it's just fun. It's a light read, despite being a high fantasy. Was actually pretty high stakes, to be quite honest, especially for the heroine and the hero as well, because he is a third prince of his nation, going to do some high stakes negotiation with the queen that Arya serves. But all that said, it still feels light and airy, which also makes it such a fun read. So I'm just excited in general. And those are the first 3 books on my end of the year TBR, and these are all the advanced reader copies or art copies. So let's move on to the reading challenges I want to finish before the end of the year. Oh, this is awkward. It looks like when I was going back in the footage and trying to put together my reading challenges, I somehow lost the film. It is literally gone. So let me introduce you quickly to the 3 books I want to read for my reading challenges before the end of the year. Starting out with the e-read, it is Whiteout by Adriana Anders. This is a romantic thriller set in Antarctica. It features an ex-military turned scientist protagonist in the station cook, who end up stranded on the ice and are running for their lives. It is spicy, even though it's set in the coldest place on Earth. And I have really, really, really enjoyed this. I actually started it in July, but I think this is one of those books that you kind of need to read when the weather suits the story. And now that I'm finishing it in the winter, it just chef's kiss. It's even better. And I just love the relationship between Angel and Ford. It's a grumpy sunshine set during perilous times. So I'm really enjoying that. And I am actually finishing it probably in audio format versus the novel that I started on my Kobo and got to about chapter 10 of like 53. The 2 reading challenges I'm reading this book for are Herrera and Romanceopoly. Romanceopoly had a challenge where you read a thriller, romantic thriller, or something of that effect, like a mystery set during winter. And for Herrera, it actually has a prompt to read a book set in Antarctica, and I wasn't trying to read about penguins, so I was super happy I found this. Next up, we have Destiny's Hammer by T.L. Price, Celestial Dragon Riders, Book 1. This is to satisfy a romanceopoly prompt, which is read a buddy read. And this book I picked up at Imagine Imaginarium in DC this summer where I met the wonderful Autumn, who you can find on Bookstagram and YouTube at Fall Between the Pages, a great play on her name. We picked up this story because it featured a Black romance, high fantasy. The author promised some spice, and I love dragons, so it sounded like a great read. But kind of alternatively, if I can't get to this story because I haven't started at the time I'm recording this video, then I probably will just pick something from her Flirting with Darkness book club that I joined around the time that I joined in July, and there has been 3 picks since then, one that I've already started. So we'll see if I can finish out Romantopoly, because I have 2 prompts left, and one of those is that buddy read or group read prompt. And finally, though, I did read something pirate themed this year, and so I'm wondering if I can actually swap that in instead. But if not, I'm adding one more thing that could complete Romantopoly, because I have 2 to 3 open slots depending on if this book I'm thinking of can count. And that prompt is read a book with a pirate as a lead character. I am pretty sure I will double check after I finish this video, and stay tuned for my January reading wrap up if this is the case. The main character doesn't have to be the romantic hero. It can just be a main character that is a pirate. And I read a beautiful, wonderful, amazing Pacific native islander themed teen romance with dragons and magic called Dragonfruit by Makiia Lucier, I believe is the author's name. And so I think I can use that for the prompt. But if not, I did slot in Angela Montoya's Sinner's Owl that I actually started in audiobook format a little while ago. This is a sweeping fantasy that is young adult set on Sinner's Owl, where witches of a certain age are sent to this island before they're married off. In this world, these witches, their magic is considered evil and needs to be tamed by their husbands-to-be, who are powerful men that use their magic to maintain said power. It is a real striking commentary actually on patriarchy, because it does talk about some of the patriarchal forces in a pseudo-Catholic like church that has suppressed some of the native religions in the world. And if you can tell by the bookmark right here, I did get far enough to meet the romantic hero of this story. He is a young pirate that ends up washing ashore Sinner's Owl as the heroine tries to escape her arranged marriage. So with that said, these are the books I'm trying to use to complete Romantopoly and knock off some prompts on Herrera before the end of the year. And in a way, the next group of books is also completing reading challenges, but I put them in a different category because it's my own reading challenge. So I hope you're interested in books 4, 5, and 6 on this list, and stay tuned for 7 and 8. Books 7 and 8 on my list feature strong female protagonists, and one protagonist that also loves other badass women, which is a favorite of mine. I love me some Sapphic. And these are 2 books that are actually for my reading challenge that I forgot to ever announce on this channel, but I will still link it in the description, and I will do a proper announcement in 2026, trust and believe. And that is the Omegaverse reading challenge, because I am an Omegaverse fanatic. I love Omegaverse, and so I challenged myself in other people that wanted to join, which I think is a little over 15, maybe even more, last time I checked, that also wanted to read 13 Omegaverse romances in 2025. And that's if you do the bonus prompt, which was this year, rare pair, meaning alpha and the alpha, a beta, omega, etc., etc. Now, if none of that made any sense to you, don't look it up. Don't look up Omegaverse based on this video. It's a lot more than I'm leading you to believe. But if you're in the know, you're a ball knower, and you love Omegaverse, I really want you to join us in 2026. So starting out, we have Shadowlands Omega, Beasts of Gatamora, Book 2 by Elizabeth Stevens. I finished Book 1, and they are both slightly chunky books for romance, about 500 plus pages. And I absolutely devoured that. Dark City Omega. It was just strange in the best way possible. It had like superpowers, dark dystopia, end of the world, type of post-cataclysm. It had romance. It had a three enemies to lovers story. And it was just a lot. And I'm not explaining it very well, nor am I selling this series, but I really, really love this series. I have actually read it. You can kind of see my dog ears maybe on camera. I have actually read well over 300 pages of this book already. So I don't have that much to finish. I just read a lot of books. So I just kind of put stuff down if I'm not locked in and then forget to read the rest of it. So I actually read 300 some pages back in July. And so I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish this before December 2025. Then we have the last book I need to read to complete my own challenge, because it'd be very embarrassing not to finish my challenge I started. And that is Heat and Run by Adriana Herrera. And this is a sapphic Omegaverse, aka FF, or however you want to phrase it. This is featuring one Omega, I believe, with two other fated mates. It is short and sweet, and so that's why I wanted to pick this one, because as a sapphic Omegaverse writer, it's not a lot of us writing in this genre, and so I already have a couple of her books. I've liked her writing, and so I really wanted to finish this one, especially because a lot of her stuff is now on Kobo Plus, including this book, so that really worked out for me as well. Okay, if I've counted properly, we are on books 9 and 10 of my 10 before the end. And these don't really have a category. The first was Orcs, then it was reading challenges. And these are really just books I've started this year, books I've read a lot of, and it would just make absolutely no sense not to finish before the end of 2025. And those books are, first, A Vow to Heal by Lionel Hart, which is actually a spinoff of his really, really cool series, The Orc Prince. It's the first book in the Vows of Unity spinoff series. Now, this illustrated cover, just to die for. The whole series is absolute gas. I finished that series via audiobook on Kobo Plus, I believe. He also has them free here on YouTube, so I'll link that in the description as well. And it was just amazing. It's a Megaverse adjacent, and so I don't know if I mentioned that, but the Shadowlands Omega book I'm reading back here is to count for a prompt in my reading challenge, saying to read a novel, like any novel that is an Omegaverse. So this could technically count because it is Omegaverse adjacent, but I really just wanted to separate those out. But between you and me, if it comes down to it and I've only read this, I'm going to count it for the Omegaverse prompt. This features Korik, who is a healer orc, so already different, right? And a warrior elf. So it is a role reversal. MM romance, Achillean romance, gay romance. We have a lot of terms nowadays. And this is definitely high fantasy. The whole world is actually pretty interesting. There has been a long-standing war between elves and orcs, which is, we can thank J.R.R. Tolkien for giving us that fantasy trope. But in this story, in this series, the elves and the orcs fall in love. I can't really say much else about this book because quite literally it spoils from the opening page stuff about the Orc Prince trilogy, because this character shows up in the third book. So with all that said, if you like orcs and elves when they kiss each other, I think you'll like this series in this author's back catalog. And finally, a book that I think I have mentioned 3 months in a row, a book that I finished, let me see. Let me just count this up. 217 pages of in audiobook format, then read the end, then I think even read the author's acknowledgement section, but not this teeny little section in the middle that I just had to finish. And don't ask me why I read the end. I have some quirks about me, which include reading the last page of every book I read. This ending was very holiday themed, and I just wanted to read it. Anyway, that book is The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava. I had a massive freak out about this book, I believe, in my September TBR video, where Libby was actually trying to assassinate me and released I want to say 10 audiobooks I've been waiting months for, including this one. So I absolutely love this book. It gave me a physical negative reaction. I physically cringed, and you might be like, why would you like a book that physically makes you cringe? It's because this is one of the few rom-coms where the character was so painfully relatable. I just wanted to go up to her and, excuse my French, shake the shit out of her and tell her, girl, get your shit together. But she was also relatable. But also, I'm like, girly pop, stop. Stop lying. Stop it right now. Goodness gracious, you can tell by my reaction right now. So this features the titular Ember, who is a Native American, I believe Chickasaw. One second. Yes, Emberly Cardinal is Chickasaw, and mixed with other Native American indigenous peoples. And she's in Oklahoma, and long story short, she lies in her application that she is actually a white woman because she keeps getting turned away from jobs. And lo and behold, when she puts that she is a white woman, she gets a job. And she falls for the hot IT guy, Danica. I really, really like this book. Like I said, it's giving me a physically visceral reaction up when I read it. But that's just because, like I said, it's very relatable. Now, I think the reason it's very hard for me to finish this little chunk, even though that's also where the spice begins, is, and for my opinion, where rom-coms, like the meter of spice has swung in the recent years, this is very low spice. Very, hot and heavy language. So if you like sweet romance or closed door romance, or, kind of more vague, more about the feelings, you're not going to like this. But it comes so late in the novel and the scene is so short. I was kind of shocked. All that said, I'm kind of on the tangent. It's hard to finish because the third act is so brutal given what happens, her personality in Danica, and it physically hurts. So I have to finish it. God, I wish I didn't finish the end because now I have to trudge through the third act nonsense to get to my happy ending. But you all don't have to wait for that happy ending because we are now at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're a distinguished guest, I hope you like and subscribe and stick around to see me finish these books and see what I'm up to in 2026. I can't wait to finish these 10 books before the end of 2025. And thank you so much for being with me, distinguished guests, as well as my wonderful royalty in 2025 for all my bookish adventures. Until next time, see you in a much more decorated, less echoey secret room that I'm making that I think you can guess what it is. And I'll reveal next year. Okay, until next time. Bye!